Let's do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here today with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How you doing tonight?
Very, very well, thank you. That was a hard-fought and excellent Oilers victory, 3-1 over the Winnipeg Jets. They outchanced them 15-8 on grade A chances, but I think when it comes to 5 alarm chances, it might have been a little bit closer than that. Although we don't officially record that, so I can't say with certainty. The Oilers were the better team tonight, but the Jets were battling hard all the way through. A very tough game. Lots of good to like, though, from the Oilers' performance, Bruce. You know, including that scoring chance ratio. I like to see the Oilers get ahead. It's a signal to me that the Oilers are heading in the right direction, and I was encouraged by that. As well as just a very hard-fought performance where the Oilers most of their lines were clicking pretty good, I thought. I liked it.
Yeah, it was a real tongue war. There was a whole lot of board battles, and a lot of them lasted for 10 or more seconds and involved like 6 or more players between the two teams. They were really going at it. And in both end zones, like Edmonton had a lot of those, like Draisaitl line had a number of them that Louis kept pointing out, where they just kept the pressure on, and it was just these little skill plays to somehow keep possession of the ever bouncing puck, and just keep it around the perimeter. It didn't always result in anything in the middle, but it also didn't seem to result in jailbreaks going the other way either. And Winnipeg, to their credit, they pushed us as hard in Edmonton's territory, and the Oilers were having trouble getting the puck over their line and doing their best to keep play to the outside as well. So it was a tongue war kind of game as opposed to the exhibition of skating that we saw on Monday night. Very different style game. Same result. Oilers allowed only 1 goal and came out on top of Winnipeg for the 6th time in a row, all in regulation.
Yeah, some of those puck battles were so fierce, Bruce. I almost expected to see Bruce Lee pop up and slam someone with his nunchucks there. Mm-hmm. Let's go to our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers. And because it's a inspirational Oilers victory, we will go with 2 good things each. What's your first good thing, Bruce?
Well, I'm going to give a tip of the hat to Mikkel Koskinen, the big Finnish netminder who'd been sitting on the sidelines for quite a long time before getting the call tonight. I think his last game was in Ottawa, better part of 3 weeks ago now, wasn't it? I think it was on the Wednesday. Yeah, it was 3 weeks ago today. He started the first of the back-to-back in Ottawa, and he won that game 4-2. And he came up, I thought, real strong. He made an absolutely great save after a Kulikov turnover right in front of the net. That's about 2 or 3 minutes into the game, maybe 5. It was very early, and by all rights, it should have been 1-0 Winnipeg right there. And Koskinen came up with the enormous save, and I just thought he was solid, and especially in the third period, he faced 15 shots in the third, and once he was a little bit the author of his own problems, in that he kind of punted out a bad rebound from a bad angle shot, and then he had to make 2 great saves to bail himself out that time, and he made them. So no harm done there, but he bailed out a few other guys on other occasions, and I just thought he was solid, cool, calm, and collected. The guy doesn't seem to get riled up or like he's very, very different in temperament from Smith.
He's a very good puck stopper. I mean, I miss Smith's puck handling a lot now when he's not in net. But Koskinen, this is one of those games where he just was super solid in net. And we saw it, I think, more last year where he would have those stretches where he just didn't look like he was going to get beat in games, and that's always a good feeling with a goalie. He wasn't quite there at that level tonight, but he was very solid and came up with a huge save right at the end of the game on the power play there to keep it close. I agree, Bruce. He now has in 22 games, Mikko Koskinen has a .906 save percentage, and I note Jacob Markstrom in Calgary in 36 games has a 903 save percentage.
He's stuck there on 9. He seems to be at 903 every time we look him up.
Bruce, the Oilers dodged 2 bullets this summer. I was just thinking this. The Markstrom thing, maybe Markstrom would be great from here on in, but the first year of the contract has not worked out for Calgary. And but remember all the Oliver Ekman-Larsson talk this summer as well. And Ekman-Larsson is not having. I think he's having what looks like another year in kind of a steady progression down from being an elite number 1 D man to being less than that. I haven't seen him play, right? So I'm just going on his statistics, but they're okay. They're not that of the highest level defenseman who should be earning more than $8 million a year. So both of those things, I don't know how close they were on the Ekman-Larsson thing, but I didn't like it at the time. And
I didn't either.
Yeah, I'm glad that didn't work out. All right, my good thing. I'll start with I'm going to start with that first goal, Bruce, the power play goal, the first that the Oilers scored. And the Oilers had been putting on a lot of pressure and kind of going after the Winnipeg, as they do on the power play. And it was the two more unsung heroes of the power play who really combined on this one. McDavid got the puck on the half wall and he kind of fanned on his pass a little bit, I thought. But it went nice and slow, and Tyson Barrie teed it up as he does now and then, and absolutely ripped it in the net. And it's interesting. He's an interesting player because he is not beloved in Edmonton. We're all such little mini GMs that we're always thinking, how much is he going to get paid, and whose spot is he taking in the lineup. Sometimes it's just good to forget all that stuff and just really appreciate what this player can bring. And did he ever wire that puck? He has a fantastic shot now and that he unleashes. But even better is an even more unsung hero, and another guy who gets the word upbraided for the amount of money that he makes. Even though really he doesn't make that much, by NHL standards. Alex Chason, Bruce, that was a total eclipse of the sun goal screen. Truly was. There was he just totally blotted out the light for Connor Hellebuck, and there was no way if that puck was getting through, in any kind of open space, there was no way he was going to move to make the save, because that was a brilliant screen. And he's not a great big guy, Chason. I think he's about 6 feet tall, so he's not like.
He's way bigger than that, David. He's like 6'3" or 6'4". He's a big man.
Oh, is he?
Yeah. He's big.
Oh, geez.
He's slow, but he's big.
Maybe that's it. I'm just going to Google this. I guess who's that big guy on Arizona who used to always screen the goalie? He used to just drive me crazy. Remember that? The Coyote, about 3 or 4 years.
Martin Hansel.
Martin Hansel. Let's go. Alex Chase on a hockey DB. Maybe he is 6'4".
He's a big guy. Anyway,
heck of a screen. 6'4", you're right, Bruce. I am incorrect. Well, there you go. I didn't even know that. I thought he was
that's how he gets in those tall goalies' eyes, is he's pretty tall himself. But in this case, the goalie was a little lower down, and the Winnipeg guy was kind of battling with him a little bit in front. I said to my wife, all Hellebuck saw there was 4 big blue butt cheeks.
You'll see those in his dreams and not in a video. Okay, what's your second good thing, Bruce?
My second good thing. The forgotten man. I almost forgot him again.
Yeah.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, who had a very strong game and has had now, I think, 3 pretty good games since he came back from getting dinged up there in Ottawa 3 weeks ago, and he missed some time and he came back and he scored in his first game, and then he had a brilliant assist on Monday on the 2-on-1 where he stole the puck off of Forbort and raced in on the 2-on-1 and fed the pass. I mean, Leon put the puck in the net there, but Nuge literally did everything else on that play. And tonight, an assist and a goal, something of a road assist, just doing what he does on the power play. How he's on the left wall and he wheels the puck through the center point and it goes to the guy on the right wall. which is either McDavid or Draisaitl, and it goes back to the guy in center point. And that's what happened here. Was it went Nuge to Barry to McDavid back to Barry, and that was when Barry slammed it home. So just a assist for doing his job. And but the second one, like the game-winning goal on a wicked shot through the legs, through the feet of Dylan DeMello, and past a screened Collar Helvik right inside the post. Very good hard shot and well-placed shot. And after dinging both the post and the crossbar last game, maybe he was due to have one that found the good side of the post, and this one did. And it came just a minute and 51 seconds after Winnipeg had tied it, and Edmonton seized back the initiative with the 2-1 lead that they basically held all the rest of the way. So it was a huge game-turning goal, the game winner. And Nuge did other Nuge-like things, and 4 shots on net on the night, 2 hits even. And I thought he lost a couple of board battles, but he's so good with the stick, they'll snake the puck out there and make good plays with it as well. So overall, I thought a strong game for Nuge. It'll be interesting to see how Kurt grades him, but very promising, good thing style performance.
For my second good thing, I'm going to go, Bruce, with that final penalty kill. Yamamoto's in the box with about 4.5 minutes, 5 minutes left. And most everything went well. It wasn't a perfect kill, but it was close to perfect under great pressure. So they didn't show it because they were busy showing Yamamoto in the penalty box, but I'm pretty sure Draisaitl won that initial face-off and they cleared it down the ice. Yep. Next time, Bear comes down and pressures hard, and they get it out on a bad Winnipeg pass. Then Nurse wins the puck and clears it down the ice. Darnell Nurse had a clean sheet tonight, not one mistake on a grade A chance against, and just another one of his games, Bruce, that is putting him in Norris Trophy contention. Then we have Mikko Koskinen coming up with the save of the game on a crossing pass down low, and he's in front of it. He makes the save. The best win, I thought, of the best battle one was Adam Larsson then wins one behind the net, just crunches a guy out, rubs him out, and then RNH is allowed to clear it. Comes in again, and then we have great hustle plays from Nurse and Archibald to force passes, and Haas clears it. And then it's the whole thing culminates just the way you want a penalty to end, with Nugent-Hopkins finding Yamamoto on a breakaway pass. So that was a gritty. It wasn't perfect penalty killing, but the goalie was there when he needed to be, and everyone did their jobs. Right? He sure is, Bruce. That was a great penalty kill, and Nurse. It's interesting. He's featuring in this, Bruce, and I was watching him closely tonight, and I think I just think there's a tendency, and I think I've shared it this year, to underestimate him as a player. And we're always, especially you and I, are looking for their mistakes. We record them, their major mistakes. So we're looking for those things, and we put a lot of emphasis on that. But I was just watching him tonight. He just made great play after great play, and he's doing so rather effortlessly. NHL.com is running a series now every week where they rank the trophy winners for each division. Right. And last week, so there's 5 guys who vote. And last week,
each division, yeah.
In each division. So last week, Nurse got 4 out of 5 first place votes, with Petrie getting 1 for the Canadian division for the North. This week, Bruce, he got 5 out of 5. Unanimous selection as the best defenseman in the North Division. There was only one other defenseman, Victor Hedman of the Tampa Bay Lightning, who was also 5 out of 5 first place votes. They're the only 2 unanimous guys. So that actually, it just kind of woke me up. Like, these are outside observers, and they are saying Darnell Nurse is a Norris Trophy, a legit Norris Trophy candidate this year. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to dig into some of the basic numbers around this. And what I do, I don't think there's any kind of perfect statistical way to come up with who's the best defenseman, because there's no statistic that measures adequately, fairly and accurately defensive prowess, which is a huge part of any defenseman's game. It's just silent. So on a player like Adam Fox, how are you going to judge that really? Like, I know people think they have a way. I don't buy it. I think it's largely the numbers that we have, including all the plus minus numbers for goals, shots, scoring. They're all just a little, they're kind of silent on that kind of thing. But there are some indicators like time on ice, overtime on ice, shorthanded time on ice. If you're out there a lot of shorthanded time on ice, your coach obviously trusts you. If you're out there in overtime a lot, that says something. Power play points, even strength points, even strength time on ice. And I also include even strength shots in this to kind of give an added boost for getting the puck on net, which is a unique skill, which is important. And if you go by all of those categories of stats, Bruce, Victor Hedman is he ranks the top defenseman in the NHL this year.
What are you doing?
Number 2,
taking their ranking in each of the categories and then adding up the rankings?
Correct. And dividing by 6. There's 6 categories, I believe, and then what's the ranking? So for instance, Hedman's number 1 in power play points this year. Right. And his low category is he's 26th for overtime time on ice. So you rank them all and then take the average ranking. So when you do that, Victor Hedman is this year, rising from number 18 last year to number 2 this year is Darnell Nurse. So this isn't a perfect way to pick a Norris Trophy candidate, but when you have numbers screaming out at you like that, when you have outside observers telling you, hey, this guy is a Norris Trophy candidate, I think we should accept in Edmonton he is having a Norris quality. He's a Norris contender this year. I don't think he's the best defenseman in the NHL above Hedman. I wouldn't say that, but he is having a very special year, and I think we should celebrate that. So and I saw that tonight in his game, a defenseman worth celebrating.
Yeah, well, he had, just by the numbers tonight, an assist on his great shot block that led to the empty net goal. Getting in front of a good shot from the high slot, and the rebound went to McDavid, and he found Draisaitl. Obviously, happy endings, but the puck doesn't go to McDavid if Nurse doesn't make that important block first. And he made a big shot block on that penalty kill as well. And on the night, he had 3 shot blocks. He had 4 hits. He had 4 shot attempts. He's a high event player. He's all over the event summary, and this year he's just clicking this again. He is number 2 in the NHL in goals by defenseman. Jakob Chychrun is up to 16. Boy, nice.
He's really I don't see that player, but man, Jake on my ranking system here, Bruce, Jakob Chychrun finished 5th. Mm-hmm. He's obviously come into his own this year as a hockey player. So here's the top 5: Hedman, Nurse, John Carlson, Chris Letang, Jakob Chychrun, followed by Roman Josi, Jeff Petrie, Devin Taves, Brent Burns, and Alex Pietrangelo. So that's
some pretty damn fine defensemen, if you ask me.
Yeah, that's why
even the ones that you wouldn't expect on the list that are Devin Taves, for example, is a guy who's way better than is generally known. Like that guy's a real good player. Colorado did a real great job to get him out of New York Islanders, and he's a solid player. But what your list I think does very well indeed is it picks out the guys who are trusted by their coaches, which I think is the fundamental nature. What it doesn't do is say, well, on a certain team, like maybe on Arizona, Jakob Chychrun's the only real choice that a coach there has, and some might say, well, here in Edmonton, at least on left defense, Darnell Nurse is so far above everybody else that whatever the situation, the coach is going to trust him first. So how good is he really? But in terms of what's being asked of the guy, absolutely, he belongs on the short list of that. Because I think your list identified some pretty heavy workhorse style of players, and that certainly describes Darnell Nurse.
It does a good job of identifying who the coach trusts, which can be a proxy for defensive prowess, but really what it covers off offensive contribution pretty well, I think. Pretty confident of that. What it doesn't do is, except to the extent that shorthanded time on ice and even strength time on ice are a proxy for defensive prowess, it doesn't really cover off that. But you're right, Bruce. When I made this list, I was adding stats and subtracting them because I was just trying to come up with actually the names that made sense. I made it first time last year. Something that really truly passed the smell test, that didn't have any weird names there that that are players who aren't considered good defensemen. So I don't know if that's a good way to create a stat or not, but it seemed to work. Yeah, I didn't want to have that, what's the guy's name? That John Merrill guy, right? Like if you went by on ice numbers last year, John Merrill was in the top 10 of NHL defensemen. And I just think no, that doesn't pass the smell test in any way. So that was my goal, was to get a list just by not using numbers, nothing else, just numbers that would actually identify players who are really, really strong.
Well, this year you're one step removed in that. Instead of looking for categories that'll produce the list, that might favor the guy you're featuring, you're actually using last year's method and finding out that this year the guy you're writing up has moved way up the charts.
Yeah.
And he's with Oscar Klefbom being gone. The opening was there for, and this is the other thing I didn't mention, 26 minutes and 50 seconds for Nurse tonight, which is just another night at the office for Darnell, but that's a hell of a night's work in the National Hockey League.
Oscar Klefbom finished 14th on this list last year, so he did very well. Bruce, what's your bad thing tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to single in on secret agent Dmitry Kulikov, who was directly involved in maybe the two best or two of the three or four best scoring opportunities that Winnipeg had tonight, and marginally involved maybe in another one or two. But two absolutely horrendous, sinful turnovers. One where he had all day behind the net with the puck, and he waited too long, and then he decided to skate out in front of his own net with the puck against two guys. I mean, that's always going to end well, right? And so, of course, they stripped him of the puck, and one guy passed to the other guy, and somehow, some miracle, Koskinen kept it out. And was that the one that hit him, and then it hit his other foot, and then it went right through the crease? Anyway, it was like, how did he possibly keep that out? One of those kind of saves. And that was huge early in the game. And then on the Winnipeg goal early in the second period, and he had full control of the puck in the corner, and he made he had his other partner, because he's a left. They're both left defensemen. There was some kind of change going on. He tried to make a casual looking, no look pass to Nurse in the corner, and it got intercepted. And once it did, well, both defensemen were in the corner, and the jet that got the puck sent a pass into the slot for the wide open shot, and the guy picked the corner, and Koskinen wasn't able to bail him out that time. But they were just brutal turnovers. Like the whole point of getting veteran, reliable defensemen is to not make plays like that. So it kind of put me off.
Yeah, I don't want to be too hasty to judge here, so I'll try to restrain myself.
Yeah.
But Bruce, this is my memory of Kulikov from the Jets. Yeah. And I know a lot of people were really excited by this trade, and they were looking at this number, that number, and saying, well, he's a really good player, and he's one of the, this, that, and the other thing. I was thinking, I want to wait and see, because I had this memory of him with the Winnipeg Jets where he made plays like this. And so, but again, second game with a new team.
Yeah. Especially passing mistakes.
Yeah, new systems, new everything. I'm gonna continue to withhold judgment. They got to keep playing him. I mean, it's good they have Chris Russell in the background, right? If Chris Russell, we don't know if Chris Russell's hurt or not, banged up a little bit, getting a rest here. It's hard to know. But keep playing Kulikov. I'm glad they're playing Jones. Caleb Jones looks better every game. In the last few games, he's playing. He's starting to really move the puck well. He's starting to look like he's got his mojo back, like that Caleb Jones that I've seen in the past, who is a really good hockey player. So I'm glad they're playing Jones. Let's just see how Kulikov does in the next little while.
Now, on the bright side, Kulikov really rocked a couple of guys. Man,
he does.
He is a hard rock player, and him and Larson together are a pretty fearful sight. But I thought overall on this game that Larson covered off for Kulikov a lot more than the other way around. And so it's, again, as always, when I say my bad thing's Dmitry Kulikov, my
Yeah,
bad thing is Dmitry Kulikov's performance in this game and specifically in these couple of plays that, could have turned the game against the Oilers. So, but yeah, I'm still looking forward to watching him play and see what he's got. And I'm pretty sure it's better than that.
I hope so. I hope so, Bruce.
Yeah.
We might there's a couple former Oilers defensemen that come to mind, maybe like Ulanov and Grabashkov. He's kind of a mix between the two, but I hope it's the good qualities of both rather than the bad. But
Our
we shall
friend,
see.
our friend Tom Barrett used to refer to Dennis Grabashkov as a double agent. 95% of the time, he was a good NHL defenseman. The other 5%, he was a secret agent for the other team.
It's one of,
Just
it's one of my
just a
favorite lines.
marvelous description, yes.
Yes, because that was Grabashkov.
It
To a
was.
T. It really was. There'd just be these mistakes like Kulikov made tonight. And anyway, well, let's just hope it's a one-time thing or not that often because every defenseman's going to make mistakes. They all do. It's a really hard
Mhm.
position.
It is.
Bruce, my bad thing is the final scoring chance of the game for the Winnipeg Jets, the power play chance. Is it the final? Yeah. Um, I guess we tapped. Oh, excuse me. It was Shore, right? I think we have a mistake in our coding, Bruce. Was it not Shore
Uh-oh.
that allowed the grade A through him? Was it Shore or was it Nuge or was it both? We have 93 allowed,
Yeah.
but I think it was, yeah, or was it? I have RNH allows diagonal cross seam pass. Maybe it was. So I'll have to review that. It was either Shore or RNH. They're up there up top, and I
Hmm.
can't remember right now who it is. Um,
Yeah, it was Nuge.
it was Nuge. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
I just
the
reviewed this one.
the hallmark, thanks, the hallmark of a terrible penalty kill is allowing that diagonal crossing pass. That when the Oilers were a terrible penalty killing team, that's what they allowed. And the last thing I wanted to see was that. And I have to admit, when I see Nugent and Shore out there together, that's the partnership that I'm thinking, okay, can we get through this little period of time here? Because I think Nuge is a pretty good PK guy. I'm not so sold on Shore. I'd much rather see Georgia Kara.
Nuge and
But so,
Kara is the pair, and
yeah,
this is
they're not
Kara.
bad. Yeah, maybe Shore should have been down in the middle of the ice by then too. But they just allowed it to make that slicing through the zone down low to two players who made it. There was a nice little drop pass there and a very very dangerous shot in it. Easily could have been a goal against. And I know that you can't always stop that, but when the Oilers' penalty kill was so fantastic last year, Bruce, they really did cut down on that and hardly ever allowed that kind of pass. And the whole goal of the PK is to funnel the puck outside, allow outside shots, even outside zone penetration, but don't allow that play. And so they'll be reviewing that on video tomorrow, I'm sure.
It was good execution also by Winnipeg.
Yeah, damn straight. Okay, your number.
Yeah, well, I'm going to go with the number 41. I was going to say 40, which was a real milestone, but by the end of the game, it was up to 41, and that's points by rental defenseman Tyson Barrie this season through 47 games now. Barrie, 7 goals, 34 assists, 41 points, and that places him among the league leaders. But you know what? I have a list here. This is Oilers defensemen since since 2009 to this season, so the last 12 years. So in 2008-09, they had Sheldon Surrey that had 53 points, 23 goals, 53 points, and they had Tom Gilbert that had 45 points. So, but since 2009, after McTavish left to now, it's a long time. Highest scoring Oilers defenseman, Darnell Nurse, 41 points in 82 games 2 seasons ago. Tied with him, Tyson Barrie, 41 points in 47 games. And then no other Oilers defenseman. Klefbom had 38 one year, a lot of power play points. Sekera had 35, and they had a whole bunch of guys in the low 30s. And almost all of them played 80 or 75 games to get those points. And then just down at the bottom of the list, the 30-point guys, we have Darnell Nurse from this season, 30 points in just the same 47 games. And in fact, Nurse has the most goals this season of any Oilers defenseman since Surrey. But sticking with Barrie, I understand that assist was his 300th. That's a nice number. And he made two unconventional but important sliding defensive plays in this game, where he went down and he took out very dangerous passes in tight to the net. One of them, he was making up for his own blunder from earlier in the play. I said to my wife, there's the old Paul Schmier, because Paul Schmier used to be famous for making some kind of catastrophic giveaway and then making some hero play to wipe out the scoring chance that might result from it. And that was one of those. But the other one, he was cleaning up somebody else's mess, as I recall. And like I say, unconventional. He is not a great defensive player. But guess what? He's a pretty darn good offensive player, and he's been a good offensive player for a while. He had 59 and 57 points his last two seasons in Colorado. 59 points, and so he's up to 41. His next point will be the most for an Oilers defenseman in over a decade, and he's here for a year. You know, he's here on a 1-year show me contract, and he's showing us. You know, he can score points. He can be involved in NHL offense and contribute to a successful team. So I'm going to rant a little bit here, because I got in this discussion online yesterday with a couple of well-meaning fans who were ripping on Barrie's stats and how McDavid somehow did better without Barrie than he does with him. And I pointed out that Barrie has been in on 25 of McDavid's points this season, far more than any other, probably more than any other player except Leon. And there's always talk about how he gets, these cheap second assists. And sure, they look cheap second assists. Well, last year there was all this talk about how the Oilers desperately needed defensemen who could pass the friggin' puck up to the forwards and get it to McDavid and get it to Draisaitl. Oh man, why can't we get a defenseman who can pass him the puck? And now they got one. And all I hear is, cheap second assist. All he did was pass it to McDavid. McDavid did the rest. Well, yeah. And, 3.75 million 1 year, and yet all this fear is, Holland's going to sign him 8x8 or whatever, and just take a chill pill. Let's enjoy the guy. It was a great signing for the 1 year. He's delivered the goods. There was zero chance that he was ever going to get traded at the trade deadline like some people wanted to see. And it would have been disastrous. I mean, what does it say? If Ken Holland brings on a free agent for a year, the guy performs well, the team does well, and he dumps him at the deadline, what's the next free agent going to say? So anyway, that's it bugs me sometimes when Oilers fans don't support Oilers players. Like, I'm an Oilers fan. I pull for all the Oilers players. Happy to admit it.
The Wowie numbers are interesting, and they people should put some weight on them. But some people use them like, this ends the argument. Absolutely. Like, this is the definitive. It's not that. This isn't Wowie numbers. Like, it's not like there's tennis partners. Like when A is paired with B, and then when A is paired with C. Like, there's not just two players here we're talking about. When McDavid is with Barrie, he's with three other players. And over time, it's not just three other players, it's a dozen other players. And when they're apart, there's all of the activities of a dozen other players factored in. There's a lot of chaos in there, uncertainty, and especially over a small sample size. So if you think you've won the argument by pulling that out, I just don't, it doesn't resonate with me, because that's not how it works. Hockey is a much more chaotic game, and the Wowie numbers, it's not as simple as McDavid without Barrie. It's McDavid without Barrie, and then with a dozen other players in this situation. Anyway, it's just, that
not
argument. Not
to mention the opponents.
Not to mention the five other opponents, and sometimes you're with the player and he's injured. Other times he's not injured. With McDavid when he's hurt, with Barrie when he's not hurt. Factor all that in as well. There's so much going on that you need to be careful about that kind of argument.
And the big picture is the guys putting up the points, and the Oilers are putting up the wins. And tonight was the second time from 3 games in Winnipeg that Barrie got got 2 points on the power play, and the Oilers won a low-scoring game.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have that extra offense from the blue line, I say.
Darn tootin', Bruce. And, there's talk about, I hear Bob Stauffer from the Oilers say things like, Evan Bouchard will be on the team next year with a great deal of certainty. And I think we can all agree, like, that makes sense. There's only so much money in this modern NHL. And Evan Bouchard has incredible offensive gifts, but Tyson Barrie's a damn good player. And if he was with the Oilers for 2 or 3 more years, I wouldn't mind that at all, if it could work out somehow, because he can make plays with the puck. I don't see him, I see some other team wanting him more and paying him more at this point because the Oilers do have Evan Bouchard. But if they didn't have Evan Bouchard, it would be a different story, and we'd be pretty pleased to have Tyson Barrie as a member of the Edmonton Oilers.
Well, hey, here's a scenario that nobody has talked about. They've talked about it for other players. But sometime just before the expansion draft, a week or so before, the Seattle Kraken have a 3-day, I think it is, window to talk to the unrestricted free agents from other teams.
Yeah.
And sign an unrestricted free agent from another team. And if they do that, they get that guy, but then they don't get to pick another player off of that team.
Oh, nice.
So if they were to come in and pick up Nugent-Hopkins, which we've heard a little bit of talk about Nuge or Larson maybe getting signed by the Kraken that way, if the Oilers try and finesse them through the draft. Well, Tyson Barrie is on that list, and if I'm Seattle, I'm looking at him. I mean, he's I'm not sure I want to say elite offensive defenseman, but man, those points, like year after year, the guy puts up the points. He must be doing something right to get all those points. And he gets them on the power play, and he gets some at even strength. And he's, you want an offensive defenseman? Well, that's what he is. He plays offense. Like, he's a real rover and a different kind of player for sure. But he makes things happen.
8th in power play scoring for NHL D-men. So that's not bad. Yeah, I've at times I don't have any hair to pull out, but I would be pulling out sometimes over his defensive play. Yep. It is. He is the Matador. Some nights he wears the Matador's cape and swings it as the bull's going by. But when he's moving that puck sweetly, it's very nice to see. Bruce, my number tonight is 1.77. That's a number of points that Connor McDavid has to average in the last 9 games to hit 100 points. 16 points you need, 1.77 per game. Now, what this means is, Bruce, he no longer has to be super duper human to make 100 points. He just has to be his normal superhuman self, because he's averaging 1.79 per game. So he can actually, it doesn't actually work because we're dealing in fractions. He's got to get 16 points. Uh-huh. But he just has to stick to his seasonal average, and he will reach that target of 100 points, which would be spectacular. Like I know that, our friend Murdoch Davis was telling us, my former editor at the Journal was saying, let's be reasonable here. You should take time off, rest, don't go at least don't play him too hard in games, all that stuff, which is all very reasonable and smart. But man, would I love to see him score 100 points this season. It would be a spectacular feat in such a shortened season. So I got my fingers crossed.
He's got 15 points in his last 5 games. So he needs 16 in his last 9 games. Well,
possible.
He's got, yeah. So Sportsnet, by the way, they made a mistake tonight, and they continually made it. Fact checker Bruce, the rescue here. They were talking about McDavid scoring 3+ points in 4 straight games, and then tonight making it 5. But that was in fact incorrect. Connor scored 2 in Winnipeg 10 days ago in the 3-0 shutout win. Then he scored 3 each in both games against Montreal, and then he got 4 in Winnipeg, and then 3 more tonight. So he didn't get 3 in all 5 games, just the last 4 in a row. So, which is pretty impressive. But they seem to think he had 4 3-pointers in a row, and it was 2, 3, 3, 4. So whatever that's worth.
Yeah, it was nice to see him get that empty netter tonight, was it not? Because
Yes.
empty net assist. That was very, very sweet. You know what? Tonight, he was in on some good chances, but the ones that ended up as goals, like there's a flub pass to Barry. There's kind of a second assist on Nugent's. I don't know if it was a second assist on Nugent's goal, but it wasn't like a spectacular. It was a rote pass on the power play. And then there was a fairly straightforward pass on the empty net goal. So they weren't on great plays, but there's been enough great plays where he hasn't got a point that he's owed a few of those, to say the
Yep.
least. So uh, I was I'm just hoping he does it, and the chances just keep going uppers. He just has to be his normal self, and he'll do it. So that would be
Yeah.
good.
Well, yeah. That's. I mean, he's Gretzky in that he can have a game where you say, well, he didn't do as much as you may be expected in that game, and you look at the score sheet, and oh, look at he got 3 assists. You know, that was. I mean, tonight he wasn't the dominant, uh, ballerina on skates tonight that he was on Monday night, but he still, found ways to contribute to the Oilers. All of the goals. So.
He still made major contributions to 6 grade A chances, so that's that's pretty good. We have high expectations of Connor McDavid. Bruce, what did you make? I don't know if you saw John Shannon in this. I think it was the second period, talking about the number one signing the Oilers have to make this summer. It's not Adam Larson. Excuse me, it is Adam Larson. It was not Ryan Nugent-Hopkins. It's not Tyson Barrie. It's not Mike Smith. It's Adam Larson. And I agree with that. What did you think of it?
I didn't actually see. I heard the tail end of it, so I missed the part about the signing of him. But
No, that's
he,
the number one priority is signing
yeah,
him
okay.
for Holland.
I
Yeah.
but I heard him waxing poetic about Adam Larson, and I tend to agree. My old goalie's heart adores bruising defensemen that make opponents pay, and and Larson does that with uh, what's the term? Without prejudice. He just whoever it is on the opposing team, he'll run the guy and he'll take him out and mostly legal, but on the rough edges of the rules is where he plays his most effective game. And there was one Jet tonight who was getting under people's skins a little bit, and it was who the heck was that guy? Appleton. And I noticed Larson rubbing him out a couple of times with sort of a little extra elbow grease, so to speak.
You know that show Battle Bots, Bruce, where they have these robots who fight each other, and like all of a sudden fire will come out of one of the robots or an arm that slices the other one up. Like that is like Adam Larson out there. He's got like sometimes he puts in fire mode and roasts the guy, and
Robocop.
other times he gets out the blade and starts chopping him to pieces. Whatever, he is such a smart defensive hockey player. He is easily in the defensive end, he is a better defenseman than Darnell Nurse this year. He is just such a positional player. He will he's not perfect. They all get
Oh,
beat. He gets
yep.
beat, but he gets beat fewer than anyone else, less than anyone else this year, and it's because he's almost always in the right position, and he knows how to get his body in the right position to lever you into the boards in very hostile fashion. So I agree with John Shannon. I think that is a priority signing, and I wouldn't be surprised if he makes close to what he's making now. We've heard a number less than that, but if players play well, and then all the bets are off, Bruce. If they do well in the playoffs, if they win a couple rounds in the playoffs, that'll be glorious, of course, but it will have serious salary cap implications for a lot of the different players.
Yeah, I remember when the Oilers took that gamble in '97 with Luke Richardson, and they could have traded him at the deadline that year, and they said, no, we're going to do our own self rental and keep him for the playoffs. And of course, they beat Dallas in the first round, the seventh game overtime, and got to the second round of the playoffs. And Richardson played really well, but that was at the time where the Oilers simply could not afford to get into bidding wars over any player, so he was gone. So technically, Larson's in that position. I mean, as is Tyson Barrie, as is Ryan Nugent Hopkins. They got a a few guys that are that are they have to make decisions on. And if it comes down to choosing, I mean, I said nice things about Tyson Barrie, but I'm talking about Tyson Barrie. It's here now with his 1 year contract next year, and what he might command on the open market changes the equation. And if it's a 1 year and he's gone, well, good luck, Tyson, wherever it is that you go. And that could be, that could be the way that Evan Bouchard gets his spot. In the meantime, he's had a year to some would say spin his wheels or cool his heels, or uh, live in the NHL environment and learn and watch and get tips from successful offensive defenseman Tyson Barrie, among others, and be a little bit more ready to be a full timer next year.
I think if they made up their mind to sign Larson, sooner rather than later might be the best bet, because this team could have a little playoff run that will inflate everybody's price. So I don't know if you want to be, you'd have to protect him, and that means you're going to lose. You're going to lose one of Lagesson or Jones. Although I guess the beat writer for The Athletic for Seattle was suggested Tyler Benson might be the pick. Which I thought was interesting, but I think if a team, depends if they have a lot of defensemen or not. It depends what they need, but if they can get Jones or Lagesson, I would see them going with that over Tyler Benson. Anyway, you're right. Like there's all of these different considerations. I would prefer that they lock him up because I think the price will be less. So that's something else to consider.
I think what they'll want to do is have a pretty firm idea where they're going with Oscar Klefbom. And if it's a situation where if they think for sure he's coming back and they have to protect him, and they've also got obviously Nurse and Bear and a bunch of forwards that they might try and finesse him through the expansion draft. And if they decide, no, Oscar he's just not going to be ready, and we don't think Seattle's going to pick him because it's too risky, so we're going to take the gamble of leaving him exposed. So that leaves us room to sign and protect Adam Larson. I mean, that's one train of thought.
There's a window after the expansion draft and before the UFA period, I believe. Mm-hmm. So you can get through the expansion draft, then sign Larson before the UFA period. So
yeah, absolutely.
We'll see what happens. Yeah, I hope he stays.
Holland's got a few things in his plate, and guess what? He's not managing NHL 21 on his Xbox. He's dealing with real flesh and blood human beings, including agents and other GMs. Like, it's a complex whole world out there. And so sometimes you have to sort of let the tumblers fall in place. Let's find out about Oscar first, then make our next move. That could be exactly where he is right now.
And yeah, fair enough, Bruce. Fair enough. Yeah, he got through last summer without pulling the trigger on Markstrom or Ekman Larson, so mission accomplished. All right, let's leave it there, Bruce. We'll be talking again tomorrow night. Thanks for talking
back
tonight.
Back to back. Flames tomorrow. So for now, one last thing. The Oilers are now 3 ahead of Winnipeg with 2 games in hand. Winnipeg has only 7 left and the Oilers 9 left. And that puts them in very strong position to finish in second place and start the playoffs at home. I really like their odds now.
Jets really miss the Oilers right now. All right. Thanks again, Bruce. Thanks for talking.
Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.